Welcome to the Principal Podcast, where we talk about how the best professional services firms grow. Whether you're looking to scale your firm or learn from the stories of founders and leaders who've done it, you're in the right place. Join us as we interview the best leaders in professional services. Let's get on with the show.
Hey, we're on with Candy Hogan today, and we're really excited to have the opportunity to speak with Candy. She's the managing director of qpeople, which is a leadership development and organizational company in the UK. But I want Candy to go ahead and tell more about us than for me speculating. She has the best knowledge of what's going on with her own company. So, Candy, when you originally got into leadership development and consulting, what made you realize there was kind of a professional service business you wanted to build with your company? Tell us about that story.
Yeah, I don't think I ever wanted to be in management consultancy, leadership consultancy particularly. I started my career working in banking, waiting to start my scholarship in journalism and started earning money and just loved working for the banks. I'm going back, 26 years ago.
And you must have
yeah.
been in your early teens when you started that.
I wish. No, I was just coming up to 19 and it was great. And very quickly when I worked in the bank, I realized that I really enjoyed the hustle and bustle of it and was very quickly promoted and became a manager, a leader, so a bank manager at the age of 20. So was very fortunate. Yeah. And had all of the gear and no idea. So I didn't really know what being a leader was about. And I think I was probably pretty awful in those days. I didn't have children, didn't have much life experience. And working in banking is really tough and not for the faint of heart, certainly 26 years ago before the crash. So I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I really enjoyed managing others. And over time became a very good manager and leader of my retail bank, managed to be promoted into various different roles. And eventually I was doing so much work with managers around me that I ended up taking a role in management development, which was internal in the bank, to train the people that led our business. I did that for a very short period and thought, actually, what I'd really want to do is, and that's where the idea of being a leadership consultant came to me. I thought, I want to be a management consultant, a leadership consultant, but I didn't really know what it meant. So I took a role with a company called Capita in the UK for a year, and I sold leadership development to their businesses that they acquired. It was a tough old gig. And I left there to then go and work in-house leading learning and development for a food service company. So I would say my journey into leadership development starts with being a buyer, which is I was somebody who was sold to a lot and bought a lot of service. And there were things that I loved and things that I didn't love. And at the heart of me is very much really strong leadership development. So I completely got what I, in terms of leaders, the work that I wanted to do with leaders and how important I felt that they were to an organization. So I think because I'd sat as a buyer, I always had it in my heart to be a seller at some point and to be in consultancy. Right. And during COVID, I decided to quit my job spectacularly during lockdown 1 and set my own consultancy up, because at that time I thought that, particularly in the UK, organizations often, leadership development, learning and development is often the first place that gets cut in organizations. And a very insightful COO said to me, I want to buy by the yard. And I thought, well, I can sell by the yard, and that really works for me. So I quit my job during COVID. I set my consultancy up in January 2021. And from there, really just worked in terms of my consultancy. And it went from being a one-man band business to then having an office and staff. And then where we are with qpeople today is that I have sold that business that I created into qpeople, and I'm now a partner of qpeople and co-owner and managing director for the UK business. So that was my journey into leadership development and leadership consultancy, but I didn't start my journey thinking that's where I'd end up. It kind of happened in a really organic way. And I was very fortunate that my technical expertise is learning and development, is leadership development, which pairs really nicely with the consultancy world.
It does, and I think you've been doing it now for 5 years, and I understand you've gotten an award already, acknowledgement on how well you guys have done. So I wanted to ask you another question, though. Think about, you started off at a bank, and so you have the retail bank presence and knowledge, and you see the whole hierarchy and structure of political going on there, and you see what you like and what you don't like, and you go, okay, I want to make sure I carry that as I go into whatever I eventually do. You didn't think you were going to be a consultant, but your learning curve helped you go through the ranks, management-wise, so you progressed. Every time you did that, you learned. And I think what happens when you do that evolution, and I've talked to many people who have not an identical, but a similar path that they followed it before they got into their own entrepreneurial enterprise, you have to see what are the problems that are out there and how can I help solve them. So for you, you see within organizations that bring you in problems. How do you help them solve the problems that you see or observe in the companies you work with?
Yeah, it's such a great question because often those problems the organization sees, and I think we are in a unique position as a consultancy, because if I think back to my days as a buyer, often those consultancies would say similar things to me. But the fact that they are external with the weight of research and lots and lots of very experienced professionals, you are in a really unique position when you come in to say, well, actually, we see things from this perspective. And often I don't like to compete with my clients in terms of those internal HR and learning and development teams. They know the answers. They're clever people and they're really experienced. What we do is we help them provide clout and gravitas and credibility to the solutions, which they often already know the problems, but they're unable to land those solutions. They need an external partner to do that. So for me, really, the problem at the heart of often much of where we're at the moment is middle leadership. People promoted because they are technically excellent, and they are promoted into roles because they do a great job in their technical role. Often, again, hierarchically, to get promotion, often the only route is into some kind of leadership and management position. And therefore, what you get is you get a great technician who becomes a very poor leader. And therefore, the problems that we help our clients understand are the impacts of those challenges, what's happening with the teams around those people. We work with senior leaders. We work with, we work with managers and leaders at all levels. But often, in terms of the problems that we're brought in to solve, there is some capability or kind of cultural issue around leadership development. And what we're here to do, and we have a team of very experienced learning and development and leadership development professionals alongside occupational psychologists. What we do is we unpick what's going on, make suggestions, and also the weight of, the external world. So we are working with lots of different people in lots of different industries, learning from lots of different organizations. We can bring that into our clients and say, actually, here's the problem as we see it. Here is the solution. And together we collaborate and work on making sure that this sticks for you. But sometimes I think our clients, the problem that they see is the symptom of the problem. And when our team come in and put their head under I would say, like, our job is the client looks at the dashboard and there's a flashing light and it's telling them there's a problem. Our job is to stop the engine, lift the bonnet up, put our head under the bonnet and say, right, really what's going on here? This is flashing, but actually there's 3 things that are causing that to happen. 100%, right. Yes. So that in terms of the problem is where we get to.
Yeah, one of the things I'd say in what you do as well, and I've seen this before, as an outside person observing, you can see it clearly. As an inside person, it's muddled. They can't see everything as clearly. Then, as you start to make them aware and you don't tell them what's wrong, you guide them there through questions you ask to get them to open up and realize, oh yeah, that is potentially an issue. Then you're not a threat. But if you come in as the outside person and you say, well, here are the things, then they're going to feel protective, they're going to feel more guarded, and more importantly, their cooperation with you is going to be limited versus open. And that's important to be able to have that communication process. So as you bring in your team, tell me how many people are currently on your team when you go to a client and you have you obviously as a point person, or somebody else may be a point person, you've designated that.
Yeah.
Well, tell me about your team makeup.
Yeah, so our team makeup is so we have an internal team, and then we have a team of associates who are self-employed who work with us on a range of clients. So our internal team, there are 5 of us. We have a business psychologist, we have a head of marketing, we have myself, we have somebody who's responsible for our assessment platform, and then we have our administrator who is the oil that makes the cogs move. She makes sure we're all as robust as we can be in our delivery. That team are behind the scenes. So I personally at the moment will front those conversations with our clients, and I will usually identify some of our associates to partner with who are experts in that field, in that industry or sector, and or in the topic that we might be looking at, and they will come in with me to be the technical expertise to our clients. So, for example, we were recently asked to do a piece of work, and I brought our he's our external chief psychologist. He's a very experienced occupational psychologist, and what he did was bring a different slant to the identification of the problem and therefore the solution. What I will say, Dennis, from what you said a moment ago is, you saying that we work in collaboration with them. I think the joy of being a consultant is what we can have, what I call P45 conversations. Mm-hmm. And that is that we're not afraid of losing our jobs. So when you're internal, and no matter how senior you are, there are things that you can't say internally, especially Correct. To very senior people. And the beauty of being external, as I have found many times, is that you are trusted to have a direct conversation with that client that nobody else can have with them. So often when I'm working on discovery work, or my associates are working on discovery work, and that's where we really put our head under the bonnet to say, what's going on here? Sometimes the leader who's hired us is the problem. And that conversation has to be had before you can move forward, because there is no point training all of their team when you know you're going to walk into that environment and they say, well, what about this person? So that trust and that care that I think we bring in a very kind and considerate and empathetic way is to help our internal team that's brought us in to have the P45 conversations that they can't always have. And that sometimes is the thing that starts the change to happen. But that comes from trust, and that trust has to be built through discovery phase. So my internal team, there are 5 of us internally. We have 20 associates, but per client, we probably have a handful per client that are working directly on the client's implementation. And our clients have the right to, well, I always give them, like, we have chemistry calls where they will approve the people that they work with so that they feel that they're the right fit for their people. And sometimes I might say, I know this might not be the person that you think is right for you, but based on what I see or what we've uncovered, this is the person that you need. And my clients trust me.
Yeah, or their individual skill set, is appropriate for that client. So when you look at who makes the decision in the companies you go after to bring you guys in? Who is that decision maker?
Can be varied in our world. So it could be from very senior HR directors. Typically, we're brought in by L&D, heads of L&D, heads of talent, heads of HR. Dependent on the size of the work that we're involved in, the decision making can happen anywhere. We also do work with small kind of SME businesses, and often the person hiring us is the person whose business it is. So that might be the managing director or CEO of a family-run firm, for example. Mm-hmm.
So when you look at your target size audience, who is your ideal customer? Is it 20 to 50 employees, 50 to 500, 500 plus? What's your target market you got to go after?
Yeah, ideally 500 to 1,000 plus would be the dream. Okay. So when you've got 500 to 1,000 employees, you're normally looking at around 100 managers or leaders in an organization. So that would be a sweet spot. But we work with much smaller organizations. We have one client that I think has maybe got around 600 people, and we're working with we've worked with a tranche of over 40 leaders now. We work in the not-for-profit space, and they're often much smaller organizations, so we work with a handful of leaders at the time. for me, it's less about size of an organization and more about perhaps where they're focused or which areas. So we work with law firms and professional services because we genuinely get the whole piece around being time limited and billable. We work with lots of not-for-profits, so we've done a lot of work there because I call it soul goal work. It's the stuff that really speaks to us in terms of our values and our ethics. And one of our values around generosity, I want to work with organizations that are meaningful. We do work with utilities and kind of very, very clever engineering firms and folk whose leadership development and emotional intelligence needs development because they're perhaps exceptional technically, but those people skills need developing. And
Boy,
we
that is so
work,
true.
manufacturing and all of those sort of heavy people sectors, manufacturing, food service, all of those kind of things, where we get an opportunity to work with individuals who need a lot of the management is very hands-on management. You're not working from home at a distance, you're walking the floor. So for us, that's all our sweet spot. So less size and more sector is
Okay.
where we see ourselves.
Tell me, I mean, do you run into, as it's a very big issue in the U.S. and probably is in the U.K. as well, I'm not an expert in this area though, HR issues for potential lawsuits and things where people have felt like there's been inappropriate behavior or actions that are done or created. Do you counsel HR or do you stay out of those waters?
Stay out, but I would say from my own experience of working in HR departments that probably our country is far less litigious, and the process of raising issues internally is so what we get a lot of are potentially grievances that are raised in an
Okay.
organization where an employee has a grievance against their line manager. It might take quite a lot for it to go to tribunal. So there are often higher numbers being dealt with internally than you see going
Got it.
into court cases. So we don't counsel HR. However, as somebody who's done lots of coaching, I have had people during coaching sessions tell me things that have been inappropriate in my opinion, and therefore I've counseled them to get advice from their HR function on that matter.
Okay.
So we don't get involved in that, but obviously there's a responsibility from a coaching perspective, but also if
More
it,
from a moral point of view,
yeah,
you feel obligated.
yes, very much so, and to the learner, not always
Hmm.
the organization. But again, I've often found working in HR functions in an L&D team that we often get told a lot more of what's going on by the learners than the HR team might hear. So we're often like a really trusted ear that hears things on the ground and can make sure that not that those things are being shared because they're shared in confidence to you, but that they're being dealt with appropriately and that the learners are getting the
Right.
right advice that they
And
need.
you
But
got to be so careful when you get into those waters too, because you don't want to cross a fine line and
yeah,
have the knowledge and then not have shared it, or share it and then it's a backfire on the other person. So it's very dangerous.
yeah,
I
yeah,
understand
yeah.
that. Let's talk about how you get your name currently out to the world around you to grow your business. Do you use referrals? Do you do social media? LinkedIn, Instagram. Tell me the methodology you currently use to generate interest in your company to get leads.
Yeah. We are still developing this. For us, there's no one particular way. I guess for many, there's no one way. So in the past, we have attended what we call there's events that happen in the UK and Europe where you are introduced to buyers, and those buyers spend time with you in exchange for a program of learning during a couple of days. So you might go to Europe and spend a couple of days just talking to and networking with buyers, which is great. So we get work through that route. We get most of our work through recommendation and referral, and that's really positive. But that gets you so far. Obviously,
Right.
we want to grow in certain sectors. So we have we have a head of marketing. We do campaigns via email, and we get some work through that route as well, which is helpful. And then we also this year are doing some different things where we're marketing through different platforms. So B2B platforms where buyers will engage with the platform to buy directly and have a shortlisted group of suppliers that they can go straight to. So we've also played with that this year as a route forward. Social media is developing for us. So we are on LinkedIn, but we need to develop our presence further. We're not on Instagram. We're not on X. We're not on Facebook. But
not on TikTok and all the other ones, right?
No TikTok.
There you go.
I mean, my head of marketing is constantly asking me to do videos, and that's our next bit really, which is what do we want to say? What voice do we want to put out? But I think there's always this difficult piece. And I think, you said earlier about the growth of the business. The thing is, when you start your own consultancy, and it's the E-Myth thing, isn't it? You are the person who is billable. So you are the person doing the work. You're also the sales and marketing person.
Right.
You are the tea lady. You are everything to everybody when you're in that place. And the more work you take on, the less focus you put on sales and marketing because you're busy. To me,
that's a huge mistake.
Absolutely. And to me, the joy of our business at the moment is that we've got people in sweet spots that can keep focusing on things that are really important. So our continued focus on sales and marketing. We've decided not to do so many events this time. We are now working with one events company, and we have a sweet spot of 100 firms that we want to work with. And our events company will help us get some presence with those people. So we're being much more targeted in our approach. I would say over the last few years, our approach to sales and just to business has changed, which is probably when we started, we were a bit of everything to everybody. And now we're really clear based on our experience where we want to be. So now we're able to have much clearer conversations with our suppliers to say, actually, do you know what? We want to work with law firms. We do great work with law firms. And these are the top 50 law firms that we would love to do work with.
A vertical
we have
market.
Yeah, we're not just based in the UK as well. We have an office in Dubai, so we are able to help, particularly our law firm clients, over in the Middle East in terms of having presence. So we have up to 10 associates that work in the Middle East for us as well. So we have this reach out that not many UK-based consultancies have. And that allows us to have this sweet spot with these particular firms, for example.
That's fabulous. So have you thought about or entertained podcasting to really get to your clients in a more efficient and effective manner that you control? And more importantly, there's no way, if you're going to go after 100 companies, it's your target market, how are you going to have 100 meetings? So what you want to do is think about, can I physically manage that through other mediums? And we'll talk about more how that might help you. But have you ever entertained the thought of doing a podcast?
Not particularly, no. And I listen to loads of podcasts. So particularly, if I've read a book and then I'm going down sort of a rabbit hole of the experience and the thought leadership that particular person brings, I can see how it would be beneficial, particularly from a thought leadership perspective.
Okay, good. So when you look at your clients, how long is the selling cycle? So for example, if I reach a company between 500 to 1,000 employees, I get an introduction through a referral, whatever methodology it might be. What's your selling cycle from when they meet with you to when they start to work with you?
Varies by the client and it varies by their process. We had a client recently that we've just signed that we sent the proposal in mid-April. We pitched in early May. We won the business in mid-May. We launch in June. That's good. That's super quick. Normally, it's about 3 months from pitching to launching because of the nature of the beast of getting a cohort of people together. Sometimes things take longer, and that might be because we've got a trusted relationship with some of our clients where we're involved from the outset in terms of pitching, but we might know that they are having elongated conversations with their internal stakeholders and their budget holders, and therefore we might be helping them gather evidence to take to their budget holders to have those conversations. And sometimes we are asked to tender or to pitch for a piece of work that we know is probably going to go to an incumbent that we're not necessarily going to get. It might take 6 months to get a decision on. We're starting to get a lot savvier about those and starting to sort of say no and step back. But I think you learn quite a lot from going through that Sure. process as well. But typically, the one that we've just done that's the dream, as quick as you can possibly get from the yes to the go, but typically about 3 months.
Okay, wonderful. I love how you're expansive in your answers. You give very thorough, detailed answers. I love it. So to give me an idea, you have a customer. They've worked with you in your 5 years you've been doing this. for a year. What keeps them coming back? Do you sign annual contracts? Do you do something to improve that client retention? Tell me what your plan is.
Service every time. So the most important thing to me is service, which means that we respond quickly to our clients. We do as they ask us to do. We deliver great service in terms of our leadership, whatever the program is that we're delivering, that we do a really great job, that we evaluate, that we show the impact of that program on the cohort, and that we are genuinely, so the most important thing to me is like trusted and strategic partner. Correct. If you get that right, which follows with service, then that is what keeps clients coming back. That's what they tell me that's why they trust me, and I'm a trusted pair of hands. I think because I'm an ex-head of learning and development, so I've done the job that often my customers are sat in. Correct. I really do understand some of the challenges that they have, and therefore I'm constantly thinking about ways that we can develop a service offering that will make their lives easier, and to talk to them about, here, I've just created this new product or this new service which I think is going to really help in this scenario. That's when the clients will say, that sounds brilliant, I'd like a piece of that. How do we move that forward? We also, I think, because of my network, so I've got 20 plus associates on my books. One of the things I can do, and a lot of my associates are psychometrically trained. There's not many psychometrics that we can't offer. Wow. And what that means is for many of my clients, I'm able to draft in trainers very quickly for them if they need support. So if somebody's off sick or somebody's on maternity or paternity leave, that's great, because then they can go, right, Candy, we need somebody who can do insights discovery or disc. Have you got, we've got people, we can draft them straight in to pick your delivery of service up quickly and at the right cost. So I think it's all of those things together, but I do think that people buy people, and if you're building trust and you're building support with your clients, you are the trusted and go-to, the go-to team.
Exactly, and the key to what you do is that 5-letter word, trust. I totally agree. When you look at growing your business, you got two factors that can impact it. One, competition is in your space and they are coming after your clients. And when they do, that's where your retention plan, being proactive, giving quality service, don't be reactive and let the client say, hey, we had a problem, and you said, well, I wasn't aware of that. Well, you should always be aware of it to the best of your ability. You can't always foresee the future, but you should be able to be proactive. And I imagine your communication process allows you to do that with your client. But when you run into competition, and they could impact your growth, what plans do you have, one, to make sure that you don't let competition get in to the best of your ability? But what happens in a company is they may know somebody who has influence over the team of your customer, and that influence then gets in the ear of their decision maker, and they go, hey, maybe we should look at this as an option as well. That's where you have to have what we call a mole, a spy. Eyes and ears when you're not there, who tells you, hey, this is going on. And so that's one way to help you maintain clients. I encourage you always to remember that. Have an inside eyes and ears when you're not there, who can be proactive and help you guys be aware of competition. Yeah. But when you look right now at growing your business, where are you stuck? Where are you kind of going, what we're doing right now is great, but I need to do more. As we discussed your conferences and other things, where do you see the biggest opportunity for growth for you, and make sure you expand your business and getting more opportunities? Where do you see that area?
Yeah, it's a really challenging one in this market, because we are a Me Too business. Leadership development firms are everywhere, and also our competition is not just the other firms; it's also the self-employed individuals that we have on our books who have their own clients as well. And so the market is vast. However, I might sound slightly crazy saying this, but I don't fear our competition, because I believe that nobody can do what we do. And I truly believe that that's all about service, and it's all about that story. In terms of where we need to grow, we're growing fast to the point where, I'm sort of backpedaling to recruit and bring more people in so that we can continue to give great service and do what we need to do. I think there's a couple of things. Number one is to really focus in on our sales cycle, because recommendations are great until they dry up. So that's been really critical in my mind recently, around how we just really get in directly with firms, and also how we have great product offerings that are innovative and different to the rest of our competitors. Your point around a mole, I think, is really interesting. Somebody once said to me, the way to keep a client is to have 3 people who who are contacts that are part of the buying team, and 1 key decision maker. And then if somebody moves on, or if somebody is not on it, you've got this group of people. Correct. And I think we sell ourselves as the extension of your learning and development team. So yes, we do leadership development, and we do bags of other stuff as well. But the clients that I'm selling to are learning and development teams, heads of L&D, HRDs. And therefore, I'm always talking to them about, it's not you and them and us, it's just us. We are an extension of your team. So therefore, I make it my mission to make sure that I'm keeping in touch with all of those L&D folk. Smart. And that then, as people move on, it's an industry that's very portable. People do move on and move around. You're maintaining those relationships. I also like to connect with all of the MDs and the leaders that are in those organizations, because again, quite often they are key decision makers to go when they move on to different businesses. Right. They will approach directly and say, "Oh, Candy, can you remember you did this program for us? I've moved business and I need something similar. Can we have a chat?"
Instant prospects. And
100, yeah.
So when you have those internal relationships, those are invaluable, not only for current maintain of the client, but growth as they leave and go somewhere else. And the natural tendency of people is, we all like to think that we're going to be going to a place which is better, so we might leave and go somewhere, and hey, Candy helped me out, let's give Candy a call. So I think your model has a lot of things that you do extremely well. I've enjoyed our 30 minutes, man. It went by in a blur.
Oh, wow, it has.
Yeah, well, we had a great conversation. You're a wonderful speaker, and I really think that you have a lot of things that we can help you with, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But I want to talk to you more importantly about one thing. When you think about the biggest single challenge in 2027 and beyond in your space, what is that challenge for your customers?
Yeah, I think the challenge and the opportunity in part are the same thing, which is all to do with AI. So AI gives vast opportunities. We know that it's making people's jobs simpler and easier to do, but it's in part removing our human connection. So, in my mind, the opportunity and challenge, as often is the case, is exactly the same, which is our job is more than ever to help leaders to connect their people in the digital age, which is that emotional intelligence, making sure that they are still absolutely all over the capability and the motivation and the aspiration of their people, but make their life easier and make their jobs easier to deliver with the implementation of AI. So those opportunities and challenges are absolutely the same. I think the other thing is that, and I don't know what it's like in the States, but in the UK, we've gone through COVID where we've all been working from home. I'm in my home office today. I mostly work here. And we are forcing people to come back to work into the office, typically 2 to 3 days a week. And again, I think we've lost the art of connection in terms of those in-person check-ins and, how we have those conversations when we're back in the office. So all of those things I think are going to be challenging. In the UK, we have some really unique stuff going on. There are loads of changes to things like the apprenticeship levy, which means that organisations that have used government funding to develop their people, all of that will change that's coming over time. And again, I think organisations who have typically tapped into funding via government platforms will now need to talk to other suppliers. And we need to be better equipped to give people an experience that is very similar in some parts. So that's going to be a little bit about the landscape in the UK. But what does that look like? I think until the government make firm decisions, it's hard to say. But we're always sort of keeping one eye on the future. And that's the SWOT stuff, isn't it? From a strategic perspective, you're constantly assessing those opportunities and threats and saying what's coming that can derail us, and what are the things that we might be able to see as real positives. So I'm constantly assessing that landscape as part of my strategic planning, but very mindful that the things that are opportunities also may challenge us.
There's a lot of things out there that are potential. So let's talk about how people can reach you, Candy. Tell us what's the best way for people to reach you. Tell us a medium to use and where to contact you.
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn, and you can find me. So I'm under Candy Hogan on LinkedIn, and probably not many Candys and certainly not many Candy Hogans on there. I am also, you can reach me on email. So it's candy.hogan@qpeople.co.uk. You can also reach us at our website, which is qpeople.co.uk. And there are lots of methods that way that you can reach us as well. So
wonderful.
best
Candy,
ways
I've
to get
enjoyed
hold
the
of us.
conversation. It's been great. Is Candy short for Candace?
No, it's just Candy. And my sister's called Buffy, and my mum and dad, I don't know what was going on, but yeah, I'm Candy, she's Buffy, and yeah.
They like ending a name with a Y, and he had 5 letters in both. There you go. I love it. Candy, I've enjoyed the conversation. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, Dennis. Me too.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Principal Podcast. We hope you've learned valuable lessons and strategies to grow your firm and take your business to the next level. Make sure to subscribe and leave us a review wherever you're listening to this show so you never miss an episode. To apply and be a guest on the show, click the link in the description. See you next time.